And he looked straight in the camera and conveyed confidence. And he looked at them and he said, "This isn't the try league. This is the get it done league." And it was a phenomenal quote. Everybody, just all the media was like, "I have my lead. I know what I'm writing about. I have my story."
Okay, let's get this started. So everyone, I'm Josh Campbell. I'm here with my partner, Eugenio Matos, and we're just thrilled to be here right now. We're both ex-college athletes. We played, university athletes, I should say. We played for Carleton University Ravens. It was in our first tryout. I found Eugenio looking for a ride home. I later realized he was my neighbor. We were in the same commerce program, and days later, we were both playing university ball together. After a lot of successful years at Carleton, we earned our degree, and then we pivoted into coaching. A lot of the young athletes that are actually on this call right now, we've been connected with for quite a few years. We took our dreams to Toronto, where we finished a sport marketing program at George Brown College, and we met extraordinary mentors like Miss Nancy Spotton, who you just heard from, and superstars like Jay Stenhouse. Now we're the head coaches in the Ottawa-Nepean Canadians baseball organization, and we aim to shape our future by building leaders and connecting them through this art of leadership. We're here to create a major league community, and boy, oh boy, we really have some pretty cool things to share and some pretty amazing people. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing I want to do is talk about the tech and how you're going to be interacting with us during this session. Now, luckily, everyone so far has been using Zoom. So the first thing I want to do is test out the polls with a little baseball trivia question. You're going to get some time to answer. You should see that pop up on your screen shortly. So what years did John Gibbons manage the Toronto Blue Jays? 2004 to 2008, 2010 to 2017, A and D, or 2013 to 2018? Giving you a couple seconds so you can't Google the answers. Gino, what do you think so far?
Don't give him too many ideas there.
Can I even vote on this? I know the answer, I guess, eh? Okay. We're going to close it off in about 5 seconds here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Good stuff. So we'll end up seeing some of those answers and who was successful right now. Should be popping up on all your screens. Answers A and D, 47%. We love it. We love it. Good job, everybody. Obviously, that 2013, 2018 is very pivotal years for the Jays. We all remember those playoff runs in 2015 and 2016. So I want everyone to keep tabs on that session chat as well. If you guys can navigate to the chat, if you have any ideas, thoughts, or questions, contribute, speak up. We can't field every single question that's going to come through, but we always encourage the discussion. Discussion leads to connection. Connection leads to opportunity. Now, I mentioned a mentor extraordinaire in my little intro spiel, and that is Miss Nancy Spotton. She's an absolute powerhouse. She's a CEO, a sport executive, a master coach, cancer survivor. She's literally revolutionizing the landscape of leadership. And I couldn't be happier to have her connect with you right now. So Nancy, please hold the floor. You're muted, Nancy. You're muted.
Do you want to do another poll? I'm so excited.
Let's do it. Let's do some polls. Yeah.
I want to know who's in the house. Who is in the house? What, part of the journey in life is figuring out who you are. And so we're going to talk a little bit about social style. And Gibby, you need to participate. Jay, you need to participate in this too. We're going to do a little poll. Introvert or extrovert? I ask this question every class. I say to the class, line up. Right side of the room are extroverts. Other side of the room, left side of the room, introverts. Let's do a little poll. All right. Look at the poll. Introvert or extrovert? Answer those questions. I enjoy quiet time to think. I enjoy spending time. Whoa. We have a lot of extroverts that are answering right now. I easily talk, enjoy time alone to think. This is good. I like to argue. 41% like to argue. This is good. I like this. What kind of people do you coach? Eugenio?
Oh, it's
I
gonna.
easily
There's a fun mix there for sure. Oh, I love
interesting.
this. I
Good
love this.
mix. Eugenio, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Do you like quiet time to think?
I rather recharge myself around people. If I'm
So,
surrounded with the right people, that's what I really, really enjoy, as opposed to quiet time.
so you're an extrovert. Joshua Campbell, extrovert or introvert? Do you get energy from people or energy from quiet?
You know, I think I get a good mix of both. I definitely love, I'm a social guy. I'm sure you guys can tell just from the way I'm speaking. But I also love my quiet time. I love being alone. I love, working out, going to the ball field by myself. I used to actually go to Blue Jays games and just sit up in the fifth deck just to watch a game in the seats that are, they were the, how would you say it, the more affordable seats because I was a student at the time. But I would sit right up in the fifth deck all by myself and just quietly watch the game. And man, that was one of the best things for me.
Okay, so let me just share a little bit about yourself, you guys, because here's the reality. Figuring out what gives you energy is a key piece in life that will bring you joy. Are you an introvert? And from a coaching perspective, how do you talk to introverts? It's one-on-one. If you're an extrovert, they'll go to a party and talking to them in groups, they will enjoy. Tonight, this is awesome. 48% easily talk and enjoy time alone to think. Here's the key. You guys are ambiverts. And here's the key. Ambiverts change the world. What Josh Campbell said, that ambiverts, he likes to go to the ballpark and just be quiet time, spend some quiet time to recharge. That's where he gets his energy. But look at him. He also is that energy ball for other people. He's totally comfortable. Eugenio and him go out to parties. They're the life of the party. That's extrovert. The reality is the more you know yourself, you guys, the better connected, the easier it will be to figure out your future, what gives you energy. And when you are an ambivert and you like spending time alone and like the energy of other people, you tend to confuse people. I'd love to know what Jay Stenhouse is. We'll figure that out later. You guys, thanks for letting me do the poll.
Alrighty. Thanks, Nance, for hosting that. I think there's some very, very interesting insight in asking those hard questions. And it's something that we should all be aware of and know where we stand in that scale. And I'll kick it off. I'll kick off the night. We're about to get into the real good stuff. But before we pass it on to one of our first speakers, I just want to quickly share a story from one of my experiences, one of the experiences that truly marked me growing up. And this was back living in the Dominican Republic. Growing up, I went to a bilingual school. So for the most part, I grew up with two different sets of friends. The friends that I went to school with, who for the most part came from very wealthy families, and my baseball friends. I started playing baseball when I was around 8 years old. And my baseball friends, unfortunately, it was a different reality for them. They, for the most part, came from very, very humble homes with close to nothing. Very, very humble people. And this was a life lesson that I had to learn. For the longest part of my adolescence, the hardest part about growing up in the Dominican was having to have that split personality, I would say, especially for special occasions like my birthdays or parties or when we went out and these two groups of friends collided. They just never really liked each other. And it was one of those things that for the longest time, it was driving me nuts because I couldn't understand what the barrier was. And I know I could see through it because I was well liked and within both groups, but they couldn't see through it. And it was something that was bugging me for a long time. However, one day, and I'm talking about a normal day, nothing happened. I was just sitting there thinking, and I had a realization that this was actually my wake-up call. I was given an opportunity to rise to the occasion. and find myself and truly stand behind the values and the principles that I stood for personally, and to spread that out, to share that with others, and educate and teach my friends how to look past certain things, certain stereotypes and certain images that we've built in our heads. And that's the day I would say I found my voice. I took the responsibility to myself to educate everyone around me, including my family members, both groups of friends. Everybody that knows me now knows this firsthand. And honestly, I was able to collaborate, and through sharing my personal experience with both of these groups, I allowed them to highlight the things that made them great, that made them unique. And I was able to positively influence both groups. And the borders, guys, just completely collapsed. Just like that, within one day, with the effort of one person. This group started to listen and understand each other. And it was amazing to see. I could not be more proud of myself. When I tell this story, I still get a little bit emotional. But that's just quickly to show you guys the power and the importance of defining our message. Today, in this call, we're going to have some incredible people. I'm going to have the honor to introduce now to an individual who at only 15 years old started to build up his dream block by block, little by little. And this dream would elevate hundreds of people around him as well. This individual has been embedded in the Toronto community and in the baseball world for over 30 years. I hope everyone is ready, guys, because we have Jay Stenhouse in the house, pun intended. And we're about to hear some of the best stories in all baseball, some of the best leadership stories that are out there, and somebody that can truly speak to the importance of defining our message and standing for what we truly believe. So I just want to quickly introduce our first guest speaker today. It's going to be Mr. Jay Stenhouse, like I said, former VP of the Toronto Blue Jays, and a great personal individual, very approachable. Like Josh said, guys, I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. Jay's about to hop on and share a quick story with us, some of his experiences. I want to make sure if you guys have anything to contribute, you're throwing it on the chat for us. We'll keep an eye out. Any questions, any comments, anything you guys want to bring up, the time is now. Jay, how are you?
Fantastic. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on here, and it's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm ready to go and help whatever way I can. I love what you guys are doing. I love the energy, and I'm excited to be here.
Jay, let me interrupt for a sec. Eugenio, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
It was the energy that you brought to your team that allowed them to break down those borders, to allow them those conversations and connections with you, correct? It's the energy of your leadership that allowed your team to connect and share.
That's right.
And that's what Jay does. Jay does that too. I worked with Jay for years, and for years I saw this energy that was authentic, humble, intelligent, kind, generous. And he would bring that energy. People would connect to him because of that energy. I take you down when he gets the compliment. Jay, it's so good to see you.
Thank you. It's great to see you too. I'm thrilled that you included me, and with the other guests that you have on this call, I feel humbled. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So you're going to tell us a story about messages, Eugenio, right? We're talking about messages.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. That was my career. I worked in what was public relations and media relations, and then communications, it became called after a while. And I guess the important things are making sure that you have your message, you know what you want to say. You want your message to resonate with people. You want them to hear what you're saying. I think the best thing you have to do is, one, decide what your message is. Have a clear vision about what your message is. You can't just wing it. And the other part about communicating effectively is the audience. So there's delivery and there's response. And So when you're delivering the message, as many of you know, there's what you say, there's how you say it, there's how you sit, how you stand, all your nonverbal. How's your tone? You've already spoken a lot tonight about the energy that's conveyed on a Zoom chat. We're not even in person, and you can see it resonating from the three of you so far, and it energizes the other person. So you have to consider your audience, and know what your message is. You know, I've seen a lot of great messages. I've seen a lot of people deliver commanding messages. One that's one of my all-time favorites, and I know Nancy's a fan of it, is back in 2015. Blue Jays were not playing well. It was in May, and we went down to Houston, who was a very good team. Don't know if there was any garbage can banging then or not. And we were getting beat pretty well, pretty handily. And we had one reliever who came in the game and did very poorly. After the game, the clubhouse was quiet. At the end of all the major league games, we wait about 5 or 10 minutes. Then I go and I open the clubhouse. I bring in all the media. The first person they speak to is the manager. So that day they came in, they spoke to Gibby, no problem. They went out into the clubhouse. The clubhouse was empty. None of the players felt like speaking. We weren't playing well. They weren't in a good mood. So people were in the weight room. They were getting treatment. They were getting food. They were in the video room. It was empty. And then after a minute, who came walking in but Josh Donaldson? And he looked at all the media who was just standing there lonely, looking for someone to speak to so they can get their quotes and get to work. And he looked at them and said, "You guys need me?" Basically saying, "I'm ready to talk." All the media came over to talk to him. They were a little tentative because they could tell he was intense and he doesn't like losing. And they looked at him and they said, "You know, it was a little bit of a tough relief appearance. You guys are struggling lately. It seems like everybody's trying real hard, but, you know, nothing's happening." And he looked straight in the camera and conveyed confidence. And he looked at them and he said, "This isn't the try league. This is the get it done league." And it was a phenomenal quote. Everybody, all the media was like, "I have my lead. I know what I'm writing about. I have my story." But it was also great because Josh was stepping up as a leader to set the tone. He's letting people know trying isn't good enough. This is professional sports. You have to perform. You have to get it done. It set the tone. He knew his teammates were going to read it, but he also knew who the audience was. The audience wasn't the 10, 15, 20 people around him, the writers. The audience was the fans at home and everybody who was going to read those reports and see his interview. They were going to understand that the Blue Jays were a good team and it's not good enough to try. We have to get results. And it helped a lot. It helped change a bit of the tone for the team. We started to play better, and before you know it, the front office, they got it done. They didn't, or the baseball ops, they got it done. They went out and got David Price and Troy Tulowitzki and Mark Lowe, LaTroy Hawkins. And then the players continued to get it done on the field. We won the division. It was a fantastic, fantastic quote that helped set the tone. The other part is receiving a message.
Hold on, Jay, first, before you continue. It is about mindset. Joshua Campbell, it's about the mindset. That sets your mind. Are you on the try team or the get it done team? It's about how you choose to move forward in life. Josh Campbell, Jay Stenhouse, Vernon Wells, Gibby, Eugenio Matos choose to be on the Get It Done League, the Get It Done team.
Yeah, you're right.
Tell us the other half of the story, Jay Stenhouse.
The other part is receiving messages, knowing what people need, knowing who your audience is. And for this one, I have to put Gibby on the spot. I think it's a great story. because I would go in and I would ask Gibby before the clubhouse opens. I'd sit and chat with him a couple minutes, and also before the game, I'd have my chance to chat with him. And those are some of the highlights of the days. And I remember talking to him about one player, and curious, how are you going to handle that situation? And he looked at me and he said, some guys need a pat on the back, and some guys need a kick in the pants. And he recognized the audience. So he knew how to deliver his message based upon who he was delivering it to, what would motivate the people that were getting that message. So, the whole thing about messaging is knowing what you want to say, saying it effectively, and making sure it's the right message for the audience that's listening. I think that would be sort of the basics for effective communication.
Jay, that's amazing. I mean, I'm picking up so many good insights, even for myself. I mean, so important to decide what that message is first. Make sure you understand what that is, what you're standing for. And then, I mean, the last part, I love it. I think what a better way to showcase that than, that little Gibby quote. I think that's amazing. I think for sure people are different and they receive messages differently. And it's important to understand that so you can convey your message in a proper way and be successful at the end of the day in delivering that properly. Yeah. Now, Jay, sorry, and I have a quick question for Jay, and I'm going to throw it back to Nance and Josh just to keep the conversation going. But Jay, what do you think it's the importance of having guys like Gibby like that, guys like yourself who understand that the message goes past that than just the quote and just, just the 20 journalists that you have in front of you. It goes way past that, and understanding that, especially for the Toronto Blue Jays, when there's an entire country that are following you and watching you.
Yeah, I think that's important to understand the audience. We had many times that players get tired of seeing the same writers every day, seeing the same people in their face. Some are nice guys, some aren't, some are interested, some, just stick a mic in their face and say, tell me about tonight. They don't even take the time to come up with good questions. So at spring training, I remember there were some players that were already a little jaded about the media, and Gibby would give me a couple minutes just to address the team and just to say hello, so the players new to the organization would know who I am. And I remember saying that the important thing is every interview that you do, remember who's really the audience. It's that 7-year-old kid playing baseball, same as you used to do. It's the person who's thinking of buying tickets to watch your team play in Toronto or on the road somewhere. Just remember who the audience is. And I kept it short. I kept it simple. It was about 3 weeks into the season. We had one of our players who sometimes is a little testy with the media, and he had everybody around his locker. And I can say things which has power, but when you hear it from your peers, sometimes it has more power. Russ Martin walked by and all he said is, hey, remember who you're talking to. And it just sort of snapped, and that player was better for the rest of that interview. So having that support group, having the people you can bounce things off is great. Having them support your messaging is great. There's up days and down days. We all have them. And if you have that good support group, they're going to keep you level. They're going to keep you even. And you have to realize when they're giving you criticism, they're not attacking you. They're giving you an opportunity to get better, and they're trying to help you.
Giving you an opportunity to get better. I love that. I love that.
I think it has a lot of great zags into the youth coaching world as well. Because when you talk about kids and you're looking at youth coaching, so many kids who are growing up are at different points in development, both physically and mentally, and providing that support system around them where they have people who understand how to tailor your message to that personality, to that person as they're growing and developing. It's so important. It's so important.
Eugenio, Joshua. May I ask Gibby a question?
Yes.
Hi, John.
Yes, you may.
Nice to see you again. All
Yeah,
right.
good to see you guys.
Are you
Before you ask the question, I got a couple comments. I haven't seen Jay in a while. Jay's story about Josh Donaldson. You know, if Josh had not had 4 hits that night, I guarantee he would not have been out there talking to me. number one. No, I don't mean that. He was good at that. I haven't seen his face on it yet, but probably I managed up there for probably 10 years. Probably the all-time best at dealing with the media and showing up through good times and bad times. It was Vernon. Vernon, a lot of guys disappear when things are going bad. They'll talk when things are good. Naturally we all function in a lot of ways that way. Vern was always there. Naturally he was a team leader in a lot of ways. But he answered the questions. He answered when the team stunk, or whatever. And he got a lot of admiration for that. So anyway, go ahead, ask your question.
Gibby, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Well, you know what? I think, and I've been told I'm an introvert. I think the older I get, I'm a little more of an extrovert. I think I was kind of forced to, with the job, with Jay. You got Jay around all the time. He kind of forces you to speak up a little bit. But, I do enjoy my quiet time. I will tell you that.
So you're an ambivert. And again, guys, ambiverts change the world, Gibby.
Right.
Now, let me ask you a second question just about what we've heard tonight, personalization. Personalization. You were the players connected to you, emotionally connected to you. They loved working with you. So personalization. Not always,
and not all of them, but go ahead, keep going.
Personalization. How did you get to know, like Jay said, personalization, it's about knowing the people you're speaking to. It's about customizing the messages. How did you do that? How did you figure out each of the talent on your team?
Well, you know what, like I said, I've always felt I'm a little introverted. So I wasn't necessarily a big talker. I would try to I always try to get to know, your players on the team. You're going to be with them all the time. And, that's very, very important. But I wasn't like a heavy BSer, like that. But, if I very rarely had team meetings. Vernon will tell you that. If I wanted to talk to somebody, usually, they came into the office and we just kind of hashed things out or whatever it might be. We all have our different personalities. In my case, Jay was kind of the savior. Jay always Jay ran me through the ringer, and always took care of me and made sure I was in the right place, right time, or made sure I said a lot of the politically correct things that needed to be said at the time, probably.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. But anyway, now what was your question again? Was that your question?
It was just about how you personalize what Jay says about the messages. So part of what we know, Eugenio and Joshua, as the hosts of this, have learned about personal brand, how their personal brand comes across. And it's all about the energy, like Jay says, about how you communicate your brand, and how Jay is very good at communicating his brand every single time. Like, he is picture perfect every single time he's in front of the camera. And how he knows his audience, so he's able to personalize the messages. And what, Gibby, how you've been a good coach is you connect with each of the players and personalize the messages.
Now, guys,
right, well,
go ahead. I was going to really quickly jump in here because we actually have someone else who's going to be joining Jay and Gibby on the call right now. He's one of the Toronto Blue Jays' most iconic figures. He's had one of the most intriguing jumps to Major League Baseball. It was one of the fastest in history, and he propelled the league into an entirely new dynamic. Players normally had roles. They were power hitters, they were contact hitters, plus defenders, they were speed guys. This man was an anomaly. That anomaly is known now as the 5-tool player, and that came to shape the future of what you see now in the MLB. Vernon Wells, he's an athlete superstar, but not just because of his athletic ability. He's a clubhouse leader, and he always emphasized leading by example. He's a soft-spoken demeanor, and rumor has it, Vernon, you don't even swear, which is like everything in baseball. Now, your combination
He doesn't.
Yeah. but it's his overall, your athletic excellence. It was your leadership ability, and it was your emphasis on team cohesion that really made you an all-star in professional baseball. So Vernon, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for the intro.
Absolutely. So talking about messages, Vernon.
Can I just tell a quick story about Vernon? Do you want to know what good leadership looks like and sounds like? Vernon Wells, when I worked for the Toronto Blue Jays, he goes out of his way to make my 5-year-old son feel special. It didn't matter that he was this major league Golden Glove superstar. He goes out of his way to make kids feel special. That is leadership. That is Vernon Wells.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I just played baseball. I wasn't anybody special. So I was somebody who didn't have to grow up. That was the biggest thing. I was a kid playing a game, and anything I could do to put a smile on anybody's face, that was what our roles are as people and as a baseball player. So getting to see Gibby, getting to see Jay, getting to see you, Nancy, it's awesome. And Gibby, when you're talking about messages, Gibby's was pretty easy. Is you guys show up on time, play hard, you got no problems with me. Like, that's easy.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, isn't it, Vern?
Exactly.
They come to see you play, man. I'm getting out of the way.
See, Gibby, how you bring the best out in people?
Well, I don't know about that, but I try to. I try to get along with everybody. I try to have fun. And the thing about baseball, Vern will tell you, the teams are made up of guys from all walks of life, different parts of the world. So it can be kind of tough sometimes. Different attitudes, whatever it might be. And that's a big thing. If they can all come together and enjoy each other, what have you, and win some baseball games. But it's not always easy. And a lot of times for a lot of years there in Toronto, there's a lot of turnover. You're trying to roll the dice to see, maybe get the team over the hump. Didn't work for a while, then kind of clicked there in 2015. So that's never easy. So but you're with each other every day. You might as well try to enjoy it. And I enjoyed the guys. I really did.
Gibby, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So, are you familiar with the 26th of September in Toronto? What's so special about that day?
Oh, no, Jay sent me something.
Well, my question for you is this, because obviously you were a player's manager. That is known as that.
Is that true, Vern? Is that true, Vern?
I would agree with that, except for two people, but I would agree with that.
Now, Gibby, you did such a honestly. So for those of you who don't know, the 26th of September is literally, it was branded in Toronto as Gibbons Day by the mayor. Now, I'm just curious, Gibby, like, how does that make you feel? And obviously you were a great players coach, but clearly your messages resonated with our city and our country so much we dedicated a day to you. Let's talk about that.
It wasn't always that way. When it's amazing when the team starts winning, good things happen. They like everybody. That's his part. But have you ever been to a funeral? You go to a funeral. Have you ever heard a bad eulogy? So when I was leaving, that was my last day in Toronto. So they kind of say good things about you. Anyway, no, it was. You know what? In all seriousness, it was an honor. Caught me off guard. I was there a long time, 2 different stints. And the right people like me. Gave me an opportunity, so it was kind of tough leaving. It was kind of when Vern left. I'm sure Vern was an icon there. Was there a lot of years. It's tough. Except mine was. Vern was going to continue to play. I was kind of at the end of my time there. So yeah, it was kind of like reality set in. I wouldn't. I was there twice. It wasn't going to be 3 times. No third time's the charm. That's for sure. So yeah, a lot of emotions. That's for sure.
I love that. I love it. For me, I grew up watching the Blue Jays. Pretty much you were the manager I grew up watching. And it was your demeanor. It was your style. As a baseball player growing up, we could tell you were the kind of manager, the kind of coach that not only the players wanted, but all the fans wanted. So I just love it. I love having you on here. Jay, I got a
Thank
question
you.
for you right now, actually. I'm curious on a player side of things for you. You know, how did you work to connect with each individual player and help them craft their messages? Did you have any challenges with anything? Like,
Oh yeah, there were plenty of people that would pose challenges. I guess the beginning of the year is you introduce yourself to each guy, you offer to help if they need help. A lot of them didn't ask for help, but you could see later on that they might need it. So you'd watch them talking with the media, how they perform, what they do, give them suggestions, let them know what Gibby had already said about them to the media, so they're not caught off guard when the media comes. But there are some players, and they'll go nameless, but that would present a challenge. Every time they talked with the media, they viewed it as a confrontation. And that's not the branding that we wanted for the organization. So you would try and let them know what the motivation is for the writers to ask those questions and how they're coming across. And again, reminding them who they're talking to. But, you know, with guys like Gibby and Vernon, they were no problem at all. Some of the other guys, you know, you're going to get all kinds of people in this game, just like society. You have to be able to work with all of them.
And guys, if I may jump here, just a quick follow up to that, and I guess we'll balance between you, Jay, and Gibby, and we'll give Baron a chance to answer too. I know there's been a bit of a push for high level programs now and then NCAA to kind of add a certain class to, you know, to try to teach how to handle that media, so it doesn't feel like a confrontation every time. If you guys can speak a little about you know what the importance is, because I guess it happens internally in the organizations. You guys prepare your guys either way. But what do you guys think? How would the environment change if this is something that's kind of just put mainstream, and it's something, you know, that by the time they get to AA, AAA, or when they reach the majors, they kind of have a strong base on how to handle the media?
I think that's a tremendous advantage. I think a lot of times, depending on the programs they're coming from and the schools they're coming from, they may have already been exposed to that. If they're coming from a big name university, you know, those organizations want to protect their brand, and they understand that the players are the greatest ambassadors they have representing their programs. You know, but on the other hand, you get some guys coming out of high school that have no clue, have never talked to a reporter before, and they need the help. But I think what it basically comes down to overall is the players, or the people that are willing to get help, are the easiest to help, because they're willing to listen, they're willing to work with you. People who are closed-minded and think they have all the answers and should be listening are the ones that often don't. So there's challenges, and you just have to figure out how to connect with those guys. And it's like the story that I referred to Gibby before. Some guys need a kick in the pants and some need a pat on the back. You agree, Gibby?
Oh yeah. You know, one thing about, you know, because, you know, we were all in Toronto together. You know, Toronto's a big media. You know, it's. I mean, there's a lot of them show up, and so I mean, it can be a big deal. I mean, well, it's obviously a big deal. It can be intimidating for, I think, probably some of the young guys. My advice though is always, hey, just shoot them straight. You know, just be honest, what have you. You know, you might throw a little BS in there every now and then. But no, I don't think nobody likes the politicians. You know, the guys with the, you know, they just, you know, like the guys we watch on TV. You know, nobody likes that. So I think just be genuine. You know, answer it the best you can. Be honest. You know, you usually don't have any problems with it.
Let's just talk about messages from a body language perspective, because you guys are on camera all the time, but there's also a lot of people that watch you guys. And I want to share a story about what I saw about Vernon and how hard he worked and why he's a Golden Glove winner. And this is part of the journey forward. It isn't easy. It takes commitment. Jay worked hard. Gibby worked hard. Vernon worked hard. We all know that takes a lot of energy. And when I saw Vernon at batting practice, what Vernon would do is he would turn his back to the batting cage. He's a center fielder. He'd turn his back to the batting cage. And people would be like, Vernon, what are you doing? He'd be, I'm listening to the sound off the bat. I may get that wrong, Vernon, but that's what I saw as an observer. And remember, it's about how body language, the messages you send. And when people see that, like everybody else is kind of following those things that they need to do to get ahead in life. And there's Vernon doing it differently, not only working harder than everybody, but thinking creatively about how to solve the problem. Is that what was going through your mind, Vernon, when you were doing that, turning your back to the batting cage? What were you thinking about?
Well, I mean, my job was to make my pitchers happy. Being in the outfield, I needed to go get everything that I could. And my greatest asset was my ability to get a jump on a ball or read the ball off the bat. Sound plays a big part of that when it comes to if they hit it solidly or they got jammed or hit it off the end of the bat. That was part of the training of the sound part of it, which I was doing with my back turned. It got to the point where I could tell where balls were being hit just based off of sound. And when it came to if they pulled it or they hit it the other way, things like that. So I always tried to find creative ways. There'd be times where I would be taking fly balls and I'm just sliding after every ball, or come play up and make sure every ball gets hit over my head and track them down, and vice versa. So many different ways we can train our skill set to when we get in a game, and this is regardless of what you do, you train for it long enough, you get into a competition or you're taking a test, you're doing something that challenges you. It's just a game at that point. You've already studied, you already know everything that's going to be on the test. Now you can just go and execute what you've learned. And that was kind of my mindset when it came to the outfield. So our groups are made up of 15-minute groups, and I would take one 15-minute group, and all my pitchers knew that the center field was my space. I'm getting everything that's hit the center field, and I would take that 15 minutes and then go on and be the person that would try to just have as good a time as possible on the baseball field.
I love it. I think that's, one of the coolest things about that story too is that I don't know if you guys, we can't see them right now. We're going to be pulling them up though, but we've actually got a whole bunch of youth athletes, youth baseball players, who are building their careers right now. Their ages from, 14 to 17. And let's see here. Hope you boys are ready. I'm going to be calling you out now. So we're going to get some questions rolling from the kids. So let's start out.
Joshua, do you want to bring Cooper Davis in first? Because he's in between the Vernon Wells and Jay Stenhouse and Gibby. You've got Cooper Davis, and then you've got your team. Do you want to roll Cooper Davis into the conversation?
Absolutely. Let's. I'm actually going to pass this off to Gino, and Gino can introduce us to Cooper, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, super excited. Nancy kind of just gave it away, but the beauty of this call was we eliminated borders from the start. We have somebody that truly devoted his life to the organization. On Jay Stenhouse, we have a manager coach, a player coach that was loved by all his players, all the people of the city, and John Gibbons. We have a stellar outfielder and professional baseball player in Vernon Wells. And then we have an aspiring professional baseball player currently on a Vanderbilt program on Cooper Davis. So we'll bring in Coop. How's it going?
How's it going? Thank you for having me.
Good, man. Just to kick it off the bat, man. So some of the things I'm sure these guys have talked and mentioned, you can definitely relate to. How much difference do you think, or from what you've been able to grasp so far, how much different is that process currently for you at school? As you know, I know you haven't been there, but I know I'm sure you're familiar with the kind of pressure that comes along and the importance of defining your message and standing for the things that you believe in, showcasing your personal brand and the things that make you unique and great.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, college baseball is kind of different from pro ball in the sense that we get 8 or 9 months out of the year that we spend together. We're there the entire fall in school, fall training, and then we go into the spring season, and we show up in August, and it's actually kind of funny because we're a baseball team and we actually don't even touch a baseball or bat for about a month and a half, and all we do is we actually have a team classroom and we have workouts after the classroom. But during the classroom sessions, all we do is talk about what Vanderbilt baseball is all about, what our message is, who we are, what our values are, and basically just lay out the guidelines for how our program works. And my coach, Tim Corbin, does an amazing job at that. And it's usually, that's the biggest shock, I think, for, freshmen coming in. We usually have the top recruiting class every year. So we usually have some pretty some freshmen who think they're the stuff. So we have a lot of stuff that we have to kind of go through, and we get guys like some really solid baseball players, and the Blue Jays just got one of our guys, Austin Martin, really good friend of mine. He's a great player, but it's just funny that we're a great baseball team, but for about 30 to 40 days, right when we show up, we don't even touch a baseball or bat. It's all about, communication, talking about leadership, how our program maneuvers different situations, how we talk to one another, how we present ourselves in the public. And you guys kind of said it perfectly. You guys are in the media more, the Blue Jays for sure. But our coach tells us that we're always walking, talking billboards for our program. So we kind of use that as our message when we're in public, we're at restaurants and we're around Nashville. People see us and they know who we are. So we're always making sure that we're giving our brand the best face.
Absolutely. I mean, going back to, and I'll quote you here, Jay, if I may.
Of course.
Our players are our greatest ambassadors, right? So the fact that, you guys are even told that you are walking billboards out there, at the end of the day, like Jay said, you guys are the greatest ambassadors. You guys are the best promotion for the team and the program itself. And it's good to know that you guys go through that process of understanding that and making sure that everybody's carrying themselves up to the standard.
Eugenio, let me ask a question. I want to ask a question about pressure, because pressure is a key differentiator, it will break people or it will help people shine. And I want pressure perspective from Jay and Cooper and from Vernon and then from Gibby. How do you manage through that pressure? No pressure, no diamonds, baby. That pressure is that key differentiator. I'm going to ask you, Cooper, and then I'm going to come to Vernon. How did you handle the pressure as you went up the ladder? Cooper, how do you navigate through the increasing pressure? Does somebody help you, or do you just figure it out on your own?
I mean, pressure actually is a big thing that we talk about in our program at Vanderbilt. It's the reason why, in the fall that we do these like ridiculous workouts. We call them, it's called Omaha Challenge, and it's about a month right up before Christmas break. And a lot of it is colleges kind of have these ridiculous strength and conditioning programs for the reason, obviously to get stronger, but the biggest thing is confidence. And I think the thing that we gain from doing stuff like that is if we can accomplish this ridiculous workout as a team together, that when we're on the field at Texas A&M and fans are screaming at us, and that's nothing. It doesn't really mean anything because we did another obstacle as a team that was totally un-baseball related, but that gives us the confidence. So, I mean, the biggest thing to deal with pressure is to put yourself in, in situations that you're constantly being tested. So pressure is normal. I mean, that's usually how high level athletes they work. And I mean, we got Vernon Wells in here, and he goes, I know I'm an outfielder, and I've played in some pretty loud college stadiums, but I can't imagine what it's like to play the outfield in the big leagues in some really loud major league fields, because the ball goes up and the crowd goes wild. So I mean, it's you have to be, as an outfielder for sure, we have to be very, very calm, collected, make sure we're communicating, stuff like that. So we have no time to really feel the pressure when the ball's in the air, because you got about 3-4 seconds until you got to be under the ball.
Okay, Cooper, I'm just going to come to actually before Vernon, one of the talent on the team, one of the top performing kids has a question about pressure for you. I want to come to Jay, because Jay, the way that Jay has to respond to pressure is all of a sudden there's a media guy in front of him. He's supposed to be on message, and he's got a microphone and a question that he's not familiar with. That's pressure. How do you navigate through that? What are the processes that you can articulate that help you stay in your neocortex and not go into your, oh my God, I'm so scared, I want to run from the room part of the brain?
Well, I think the first thing is I don't have to respond to their energy. I don't have to respond to their intensity and what they want. I get to control me. And if I remember that, I'm always in control. Then I can break down what the question actually was and take their emotion out of it. And I can be diplomatic and it's, hey, I understand your question. I'm not sure you have all the facts, or that's something I'm not aware of. I'm going to need time to get the research, or I'll have the answer for them and be able to correct them. I think I learned that a long time ago, actually, from one of my bosses, Howie Starkman, during the playoffs in '85. People were yelling at him, and he was calm as could be. And I was curious how he could do that. And it was no problem, because he knew that he had covered everything he needed to do, and he'd made the right decisions, and he was ready to handle all the situations. So you keep your cool, and for keeping cool, I'm interested to hear about Vernon, how he handled playing in Yankee Stadium back when it was a lot more unruly than it is now, and things that were thrown. And I'm sure he could tell you a lot about pressure out there.
So I got a special guest. We're going to come onto the show right now. This is one of our Eugenio and I's. He's one of our favorite players just because he's got such a great leadership attitude. His name is Sam Dubé, and Sam Dubé, we just call him Dubé. Dubé is about a foot taller than me, about a decade younger than me, and he throws the ball. There he is, right there. Attaboy, Sam. How you doing?
Very good. How are you guys?
Good.
It's an honor to be on this video. All the talent on this Zoom call is just very impressive, and I'm mesmerized.
Good stuff, Sam. So basically, we got Vernon Wells here for you, buddy. So you go ahead, ask him a question.
All right. So after signing a big contract, you suffered a couple injuries in 2009. This was followed by criticism by the press and the public. How did you stay focused and kept your head clear to have a bounce back season in 2010?
Good question. And 2009 wasn't the only year. There is probably a quote, and we talk about being real with media. It got to the point, I think it was maybe 2007-ish, dealing with an injury. I'm hard-headed. I don't see anything. And I told the media, I think my new name is Boo Wells, because I was getting booed at home all the time. So the media loved it. So I think understanding pressure is a big thing. Understanding where that comes from is the key to kind of being able to navigate through all that. As athletes, if you're not put in a pressure situation, then we're not where we need to be. We have to be able to live in pressure and be comfortable under those circumstances. Because if we're not doing that, then we're going to cave when those situations come about. So for me, understanding, even when I signed the big deal, the question was posed to me is, am I worth it? No one's worth that amount of money. It's what the market bears. And I played well enough up in that point to that was what the market was. I put myself in that spot and I signed a deal. Money was never a reason to play the game. The only reason why I played the game is because I loved it. I loved being around the guys. I loved everything that came with it. And pressure is something that I enjoyed being in. Playing in Yankee Stadium, in old Yankee Stadium, and hearing the things that I heard, I can't repeat them on this call because there's some young ears on this call. But I love that. Like, those are my fondest memories. And if people aren't saying anything to you, then you're not doing enough so they know who the heck you are. You make a name for yourself. You put your name out there. You got to take the good and the bad. You got to be able to take both of them and love both of them. Love the doubters. Love the naysayers. Don't take it personally. Reporters, media, they have to do their job. Fans want to see you succeed. They want to see the best of you. And when money gets thrown on top of that, there's another level of expectation that comes with it. But the biggest thing is not allowing, baseball's already hard enough. We don't need to put another layer of pressure on top of that. So in your preparation, you prepare to be great. You push yourself to be great. And when the time comes for you to answer that bell, you will be great. And you got to believe that wholeheartedly. And I tell guys, you have to walk that line of cockiness and confidence, understanding that when I step on the field or I step in the box or I step on the mound, I'm the best player on that field. That's what's inside. It's not what comes. It's not what you do outwardly. It's what you feel on the inside. So when people see you, they think you're the ultimate competitor. Some people may think you're cocky, but inwardly, you know, I'm supremely confident in my abilities, and I'm going to dominate you on every pitch. I'm going to dominate whatever pitch you throw at me. And if you get me out, you got lucky. That's kind of the mindset. And if somebody gets a hit off of you, they got lucky. That is the only mindset. Nobody's better than you. Once you start to have that doubt, then you can't compete to the level you want to compete in. So with that, my boys have a basketball game. So I'm going to be on this call next week and hopefully the week after that. So please forgive me for this one, but I will make up for it on the following week.
Before you go, Vernon,
Yes.
your voice sounds fantastic. The information, the energy, the positivity, those little gems, those nuggets that you've provided, stunning. So proud of you.
Well, I have some more, so I'll dig deep into the next bag of tricks and pull them out next week for you guys.
We'll see you next week, Vernon.
Vernon,
All right,
thank you so much for being
See
here.
you, Vern.
Yeah,
Thanks,
see you
Vern.
guys next week.
Thank you.
Joshua, over to you.
Okay, that was great. Oh my Lord, that's like Sam Dubé. I hope you're taking notes there, buddy. That's awesome stuff. So, what we're going to be looking at next, actually, I want to introduce another player that we've got coming up here. His name is Evan Atkinson, and Evan spoke up during our last call. He said hi. Evan's one of the smartest 15-year-old kids I've ever met in my life. He's probably it's hard to explain how this kid's mindset at 15 years old is literally what you need to get to a Major League Baseball team. And I'm so proud to bring him on. There he is right there. He's a catcher just like I was. And Gibby, we have Evan Atkinson ready to pepper you with a question. It's a good one.
Fire away.
First thing I'd like to say, Gibby, it's a pleasure to be able to talk to you.
Hey, likewise.
Coming up when I first started really getting involved with baseball, 2013 it was, and so your first years back in your second stint, it was that was when I was first really getting into baseball, and it was it's amazing being able to be in this call with Vern, who's now left, but be back here, see you, Jay, up there as well, and just be with everyone here. It's great. But
What do you got?
for you, in those early years with the Jays, and I know that Jay touched on it earlier with the story about you in 2015. In terms of dealing with expectations that aren't being met, and when a team is underperforming, as a leader, what do you think is important to sort of preach on and make sure is important in a clubhouse for everyone to work together and reach that level of success that you know they can get to?
Well, you know what, the expectations, it's wonderful to have expectations. That means people think you're good. They want you to achieve what you're capable of. But, sometimes in professional sports, I found out my years in Toronto there, sometimes maybe we're more was expected out of what kind of team we had than was probably reality. When you've been around the game as long as I have, and like a lot of guys in the game, there's little things you see that, it's tough to win. It's tough to come out on top. And if you're missing this little piece here or there, you can't come out and say it. We need this and we need that. And it's not a cop-out. It's not an excuse. But, maybe you're just missing just a little bit of something, to put you over the top. So whether it's in sometimes the baseball world thinks you're underachieving, you're not meeting expectations, but deep down, you know what, this little piece would do wonders for us. Okay, but then I've also been on teams where, yeah, we have not achieved what we should have. But you know, I've always believed, you know, going back to my playing days and when I got into coaching, you know, I always liked playing for guys that were positive, you know, hard-nosed guys, great competitors, but positive, weren't always complaining, weren't negative people. And so that's kind of what the athletics I grew up around. And so naturally, that's kind of what I became. And I always try to stay positive with the guys, even good times and bads, because you guys know in baseball, man, it's a roller coaster. You know, you play so many games, and I mean the ups and downs. And if you get too high, it's like the old saying, you get too high or you can't get too low. There's a lot of truth to that. You know, I mean, you got to stay steady because it's guaranteed to happen. I don't care how good a team you got. You're going to go through stretches where you're going to go through losing streaks. So I just tried to, with our guys, you know, try to stay positive, you know, kick them in the butt when they did need it, you know. But in saying that, there's times, you know, you got to get their attention too. You know, you can't, you know, I've always been said, I've always been kind of steady. Yeah. But there's got to be an uptick in there somewhere. Then let guys know you have a heartbeat, you know, that, hey, you know, if we're not playing good, we're playing sloppy, what have you, that's not acceptable. But overall, you know, it's when you're getting a great effort from your team, and you usually do, you know, it's kind of tough. You know, it's kind of tough to rip into guys, you know, when they're giving everything they got, and when you're in one of those bad stretches. So it's kind of like a psychological thing. You read the pulse of the team. See who's, you know, making sure if you're focused and giving a good effort, you know, giving your best effort. I don't know what more you can do, to be honest with you. So sometimes it's not doesn't help to beat a dead horse, does it?
Yeah. Well, thank you for the insight. It helped.
Was it any good?
It was. I know Josh neglected to mention it. Nothing on you, Josh, but Sam Dubé, the last guy who asked the question, actually, me and him were co-captains for our 16U team.
Nice.
So there have definitely been a few weekends where out in travel ball, like down in the U.S., where we've hit a rough patch and we're just not winning the games we should be, and so that's just where that question came from. And I thank you.
Hey, you know, in the sport of baseball too, you know, we all know that, you know, pitching wins, right? You know, we've all heard that. We all know that's a fact. And on any given day, on any given day, that, you know, the other team may be better. They may have a better pitcher at their mound, or he may be on that night. I mean, you know what? And you're probably not going to win that game, you know, or you're facing their best guy, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, you're going to – and if might happen 2 or 3 days in a row, you run into a pretty good group, a hot team or whatever it is, and you're going to lose some games. So you also have to be able to look at things objectively, you know, and not panic and not and if you worry about the simple things, you know, that your preparation, the mindset of your guys, then just go play the game. You know, if all you focus on is the outcome, you know, you forget those things beforehand, and that's when the emotions run, and then that's when, you know, you feel the heat because you're not playing good. Then you take out your frustrations on the guys. You know, you just do your routine every day, stay positive with it, you know, make your corrections where you need, and be realistic, you know. But you know, there comes a time some guys are going through the motion, they're not into it, they're hit somewhere else, and then you got to rip them apart a little bit.
All right. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it sure has.
You know, one of the things that I hear from John Gibbons a lot is about the highs and the lows. Like, don't get too high on the highs, don't get too low on the lows. And that's the same as Jay, high and lows. You go through in life dips and valleys. And the dips and valleys, learning how to get out of the valleys is a key piece to the puzzle. Over to you, Joshua Campbell.
Sorry, I might actually steal it. I'm going to quickly bring up one more person to ask a question. It's going to be for Jay, and it's from a colleague of ours, teammate of ours. Then again, one of the first individuals that I met along Josh when I first came to Canada, played Carleton baseball with us. Very, very interesting minded individual. We'll bring him up. His name is Joel Soda, and he's got a question for for Jay. Just give us a quick second here.
You have a kid that's going to come on and ask you a question about pressure for Jay?
This kid is a little older.
Do I look like a bigger kid than the previous guys?
How's it going, Joe?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Good, man. Glad to have you here. Take it away, buddy.
Thanks for having me on. And my question is related to that intro of being one of the bigger kids. So I'm hanging on to the glory days, 25, doing a master's and still finessing the system and able to play some college ball. And my question is on that theme of passing on leadership. So it would have been good to have Vernon comment on this, but anyone and Jay and talking about transitioning in roles, when you're changing job or at any point you're trying to develop another leader rather than doing so many things yourself, what's a strategy, something you keep in mind and actionable to bringing up the next generation of leaders to set the tone for when your time is done?
Well, I think that's a good question. And I too was a big kid playing. I remember that. You remind me of something when I was about 10 years old. Everybody on our team had a green front hat and mesh on the back. And I didn't fit in the youth hat, so I had white on the front and green in the back because I was the biggest kid and had a big noggin. So
love that.
It looked like I was an assistant coach instead of a player. But anyways, the question. Sorry, I lost the last part. But about developing leadership, I think the biggest thing is trying to prepare people and give them opportunity. Share what you did. Share the thought process so they understand what went into it. Just because I had a higher title, I can learn things from everyone in my department, whether it's an intern, whether it's somebody who's been 2 years, whether it's the admin assistant who never even goes on the field. When you're talking about things in a group session, you can learn from everybody, but you're also sharing information. My typical style was to lead by example so they could see what I did. And I always wanted to make sure I was the hardest working person in my group. So leading by example, sharing the information, and then creating opportunity. I didn't need to do it all the time. There'd be times where it'd be like, okay, you go ask this player for this interview request, or you go deal with this media person. And yes, I could have done it, but give other people opportunity. And then you're there to help them out if anything goes wrong or they have any questions. So you're training them and you're making life easier for yourself at the same time, because you know you can depend on those people to step in anytime. There might be some other thing that happens, some crisis situation, I have to leave. I'm not nervous about leaving and putting the department and running the game with somebody else in my department. I'm not nervous about it. I have full confidence. You know, he'd be probably the same way when all of a sudden he had to step aside. DeMarlo Hale took over the job as managing for a couple games. It's making sure your people are ready to step into those positions, and whether they do it with you or whether they do it somewhere else or they replace you, that's great. I want to see people succeed. So that would be my ideas on how to build those mentorships, and then just watch each person individually, because different people need different things.
Thanks. There's a couple of my less senior teammates on this call, so I'll ask them for feedback, see how I'm doing in those things. But thank you.
I love it. I love that. Well, Zoda, it's great seeing you again, buddy. And
likewise, Campbell.
Glad to have you on the call. I think now what we're gonna do is Cooper. I've got someone who's interested in asking you a question. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call to the table someone named Justin Godmare. Justin, we name him Juice. Juice, at the age of 13 years old, was hitting bombs with wooden bats. This kid, I have a great story, but I don't think I have enough time to really dive into it. But long story short, it was the bottom of like the 7th inning, which is like the 9th inning in Little League. And we were down 6-5, 2 outs. And Juice said, "Coach, what do I do?" And I just said, "Take a breath. Take a deep breath." And Juice walked up to the plate, took a deep breath visibly. He looked at me. I was standing in the dugout, and he goes, and he hits a 2-run bomb to win the game and win the whole tournament. It was unbelievable. So I'm so happy to bring Juice on the line right now. Juice, you got a question for Cooper? Go ahead, shoot it over.
Man, I'm equally happy to be here. I'm honestly blessed to be in a place with such just baseball knowledge. Jeez. And but yeah, for Cooper, I have a good question for you. You coming from Ontario and being able to play D1 in the States, was there ever a moment where, or just a part in your career where you realized I'm really good enough to do this, to go D1? And what were some of the things that helped you realize that you had the talents to go play there?
I mean, really good question. I mean, I felt like it was a weird situation for me in high school. I played on the Canadian junior national team. I kind of had a lot of success, I got quick in my career. And I ended up going on to Vanderbilt when I did get there. And I was, a little cocky. I mean, like every freshman is that comes into school, and it was a huge shock that you go into a program and everybody is so good. And I felt the exact opposite. I mean, some guys go in there and they feel confident they're 100%. I walked in there and I wanted to transfer. I wanted to go home. I don't know how many times I called home and said, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I had a couple of times where I even went to the coach's office and talked to him about that. And he was able to get me with some senior guys and basically be able to get with them, talk about how they, deal with pressures like that, about not feeling good enough. I mean, so for me, it was kind of the opposite. I kind of had a situation where, I felt like I was not good enough. And I think that's just as important, understanding that, when you go somewhere for a reason. Whether you're playing D1, whether you're playing pro ball, whether you're in the big leagues, or you're there for a reason because you have talent, and you can, as long as you have that believability in yourself. I think that's why some guys, that's why they get really good success at different levels, is they really believe in themselves and they never doubt themselves. I mean, Vernon was saying the same kind of thing, was that he knew that when he came up in the field, he was the best player. He was the most talented. He had that kind of confidence to himself, and you just never want to lose that anywhere you go.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So you were saying you went to see the coaches and he talked to some seniors. So obviously it's great to see that there's a little bit of a hierarchy of leadership. Would you say that now you're in your third year? Am I correct?
I'm going into my technically I'll be a junior just because our season got canceled, but I'll be a senior. Yeah.
All right, nice. So would you say that you've established that role of leadership there with your team yet, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of how the whole program works. Is it's a circle, really. You have freshmen come in, and our coach doesn't really have to. He does these meetings, has these talks, but 70 to 80% of the leadership is done within the locker room, and times that we're on campus, and times that we're walking around after class and just want to go hang out with each other. That's where all the leadership really takes place. And I learned it from so many good guys from before me that were juniors and seniors when I was a freshman and when I was going through some tough times. And I have those experiences that I dealt with them. So I know exactly when I see a freshman, who comes into a program, you could tell he's a little bit quiet, a little bit nervous. I know exactly what to say because I was the same situation. And that's kind of how, our program has had a lot of success, is that in the program, the moral values perpetuate themselves within the players. Everybody understands exactly what we're trying to do. And each year in, year out, the older guys, basically, we teach the program. Our coach doesn't have to do much. We know everything, and we know what we're supposed to do. We know how we're supposed to deal with those younger kids. And that's why the first month to 2 months is, a very important part of our season in the fall, is just to get those freshmen and new kids to our team, just to show them how, things are done and how we train, things like that.
I love that. I actually love all of that. And Juice, that's good stuff for you guys to know moving forward, especially when you're at the age that transitions from that youth athletics to potentially college ball, right? So, Juice, great question. Coop, that was an awesome answer. I hope you don't mind me calling you Coop. But
all good. Everyone does.
Yeah. So, Joshua, just back a little bit. I just want to talk to Cooper and Justin for a second to say that communication is a key piece. Back to Jay's talent. Jay's talent is communication and connection. The purpose of communication is to connect, and the two of you are spectacular communicators. first of all, to other people, but more importantly, to yourself first. And you said to believe in yourself first, because there's a whole bunch of people, ask Gibby, ask Jay, the farther you get up the ladder, the more people will want to cut you off at the knees. You got to believe in yourself. Pressure, competition brings out the best in you. I'm so impressed with the two of you. Joshua, we have a question for Gibby, and then we're going to wrap and talk about next week.
You got it. So, yeah, Gibby, we got one more youth athlete on the line.
Hey, I want to say something before your question, because we were talking about, confidence and stuff like that. Another thing too, you can't be afraid to fail. It not only in the sport of baseball, you're failing all the time. We all know that. In life, you're failing. You go through different things. And like Nancy was talking about earlier, you got to know, how quick can you dig yourself out? That's everything in that. But one thing I have always noticed in baseball, back when my playing days, and then, especially now when I got into coaching, is it's like when you deal with pressure, it's like the great players. It's like they don't give a damn. They don't care, which is not true. They do, but it's like they know if they fail this time, they're going to get another shot at it, and they're going to come through. In the lesser player, the guy that struggles a little bit more, it eats at him. It eats at him. He takes that. He strikes out with the bases loaded, 2 outs. He takes that at bat to the field with him, or he takes it the next time he comes up. He can't get that off the mind. Where your great players, guys like Vernon and some of the top players in the game, they're so what? It means more than that. But it's like, okay, so what? I'm going to get another shot at it. I'm going to come through. And I always admire those guys that were able to do it, because I was a very self-conscious player, and those things used to eat at me a lot. Now that I'm into coaching, it's so much easier to sit there because you don't have to play. It's amazing how smart you get, and how good you get, because you don't have to go out there and do anything. But if you can, don't be afraid to fail. And, sometimes you got to say, screw it, move on. I'll get them next time. And there's a lot of truth to that. And it kind of it relaxes you a little bit, and kind of keeps your mind where it needs to be, because you're going to get so many opportunities, and you're going to fail more than you're ever going to succeed in this sport anyway.
Totally.
Anyway, what was the question?
I actually, before we come to the next talent, Joshua, that's going to ask Gibby the question, Jay Stenhouse, just about Gibby's comment, don't be afraid to fail. When you went into every conversation, when you went into every interaction where you had to navigate multiple personalities, how did you develop that mindset of don't be afraid to fail? Was there wrong answers? Were there right answers? How did you do that?
I guess you learn with experience, and there were times where I said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing, and I could read a player's response, read the media's response, and those were opportunities to get better when you make a mistake. So then I learned how to read people better. I learned what the media would want. I learned better ways to communicate with each person, to let them understand, here's what the media member's trying to do, or here's why they asked the question. Then letting the media know, maybe you don't understand the intensity of that player. Here's why he might have been more fired up. You can't write this, but here's where his answer may have come from. Here's other things that are going on, and try and be the go between the two of them, and let them know what's happening. And it's taking failure and learning from it. Just a little side note, I actually watched an Anthony Robbins thing the other day where he interviewed a lady by the name of Sarah Blakely, who started Spanx, which most of the guys on here won't know, but it's a product that women love. And her father would say to her every day growing up, what did you fail at today? And it seemed like such an odd question, but he taught her from a young age that it's great to fail, because that means you tried and you learned from it.
Yeah.
And that was his question, not what you did well every day, but what you failed at that day. So when you mentioned that earlier, that popped into my head. But yeah, failure is a chance to learn.
Dips and valleys, baby, hills and valleys. You got to learn how to get out of the pit fast. Joshua, we have one more question before we wrap until next week. Is there a talent that you want to introduce?
There is. So This guy, his name is Pete Deneen. And Petey Deneen, when we coached him when he was 12, 13 years old, he was easily the smallest kid on the team. But he was easily had the smoothest hands, the best fundamentals, and we knew the second this kid started eating his vegetables, things were going to line up. And things have. He's probably one of the best natural shortstops I've ever seen out of a youth baseball player. And there he is right there, Petey Deneen. We're so pumped to see you on here, buddy. And we got Gibby on the line for a question for you. Make sure you unmute yourself there. There you go.
All right, thanks, guys. It's an honor to be here. So my question for you, Gibby, is, as a key leader on a professional baseball team, what are some of the sacrifices you have to be willing to make for the sake of your team, or the biggest sacrifice?
The biggest sacrifice. Well, you know what? Like it or not, we've been talking about leadership all the time. When you're a manager of a team, you're the leader, good, bad, or ugly. And I'm not so sure if it's sacrifices you make, but you got to be out front. You know what? You got to be a stand-up guy. You have to. One thing I would tell Jay all the time: the only thing I don't like about this job is you got to talk to the media all the time. You got to talk to them before the game, and then you talk to them after. I said, if we just play the game, I'd really enjoy this game. But my point is, sometimes
one thing just for everyone to realize: Gibby was the only manager in Major League Baseball that declared to the media, "I'm taking Sundays off. I'm not talking to you guys before the game Sundays." And he got away with it. The only guy in baseball. They talked to him after the game. It was no issue. Go ahead, Gibby. Sorry.
Hey, no, that's right. But it's a day of rest. Sunday's supposed to be a day of rest. Anyway. So my point is, you have to be a stand-up guy, good or bad, and tell it like it is. So as far as sacrifices, sometimes I had to, I made a point never to criticize my players in public. That's a, leaders, leaders, the good leaders, you know what? They'll take responsibility for whatever happens, as they should. You guys are all younger than me, but I sit down here. We're down here in the States, and you get the presidential election coming up in a few months. And all you do is you hear these guys on TV blaming the other guy or blaming this guy. Nobody takes responsibility. Nobody. Where if you get a guy that finally comes and say, "Yeah, you know what? I screwed up. It's like the American public or the Canadian public. They'll forgive you, man, when you come clean. Same thing in sports. You know what? It's the sacrifice you got to make. Sometimes you got to take one for the team. Throw the responsibility of the bad play, whatever, on your own back, and that's not always easy because we're sitting there going, what the hell is that guy doing out there? Come on, what's going on? They're paying this guy $10 million. What's he doing? But maybe I got to say, well, it was bad coaching, right? How you coaches know how it is. I think you know what you're trying to say. I'm trying to say is, it's not really necessarily sacrifices. There's just things that just come with being a leader. You got, like it or not, there's certain things you got to do. You got to make tough decisions. You got to constantly communicate with these guys, whether you want to or not. And a lot of times, mostly it's over difficult conversations. But those are things you got to do. And then you got, like they say, you got to take one for the team, man. If you're the leader, take it for the team. The smart. If it's not your responsibility, you're probably going to get fired for it. But if it's not your fault, the smart people know what's actually going on. But the public doesn't always know what's going on. But that's part of being leadership, and I think that's what everybody wants to be. And just be a stand-up guy, regardless of what profession you're in, where you are in life, and speak the truth. You screw up. Then you can't go wrong. That's the way I feel. That's the way I try to approach it, anyway.
That is
and then throw a
so
little lean back in your chair, and then you go on.
That is so consistent with what I see in Jay Stenhouse, Vernon Wells, Gibby. They are value-centered first. Like, what do you believe in, Peter Deneen, Cooper Davis, as players that are moving up in the whole journey? What do you believe in? Stay value-centered first, and that's where your messages, the core, will come from. Are you excited?
That was powerful.
Thanks, Gibby.
I think that's so true.
It is so true, Eugenio. I am proud to know you guys and the energy that you've put into tonight. Joshua, Eugenio, the entire district team, Jay, Cooper, Gibby, Vernon. Outstanding connection. And that's about why we're here. That so many people, all they need is a little bit of love, a little bit of connection, a little bit of conversation. They join us tonight to learn. We break down borders. Jay is a human. Gibby's a human. Joshua, Cooper, me, Vernon, we're all humans. And connecting to humans requires a little bit of time, a little bit of conversation. 7:30 next week. Gibby, Jay, Vernon's. I know Vernon's in. He's already sent me a note. Jay, are you in? Gibby, you in? Josh, Eugenio?
We'll see.
No way, Gibby. You gotta bring your energy.
My beautiful fiance cooked me a nice meal tonight. I haven't been able to eat it, so I might have to change the time a little bit. I'd love to do it again. I'll definitely do it again.
You know what? If there's one thing I can say also is that the kids on this call, especially in our Canadian youth baseball system, they rarely get an opportunity to interact with guys who are in the big leagues and the pros. And the opportunity for like Cooper, the fact that you're on this call, Gibby, Jay, Vernon, like the value you guys bring these kids. I'm a huge, me and Gino and I, we're all about the kids. And it's so, I speak from the heart when I say you guys are genuinely making a difference for them and speaking up and answering questions and just offering this insight. It's game changing for them. And it's stuff that they normally don't get. So thank you so much for being here. And that's from everyone in this organization, everyone who's in any other organization who's here. You guys are really superstars.
Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being
Thank
here,
you, man.
Gibby. Thanks
All
for
right,
being-
bring good energy to the world, people. We love you. We'll see you later.